want to see a non-Israel exist.
Okay, maybe I could start with kind of a point of agreement there on the last thing you said. I mean, it's certainly not the case for the majority of Palestinians, but there are certainly groups like Hamas, who I do think you're right, basically, at this point. Like, things have gotten so bad that this death cult has kind of like risen up, and I do think they just want to destroy Israel more than they even want something for their own people. They're clearly very willing to sacrifice their own people, and it's terrible. At the same time, because I don't solely put myself in Israel's shoes, I can just go, look, I got 2 little kids, and if someone ever did anything to one of those kids, there is no level of evil that I wouldn't stoop to. I mean, like, I am capable of doing very, very evil things if anyone ever hurt one of my little kids. I mean, like, I could do something to the kids of the person who did that to me. I could go to very, very dark places. And so, yes, basically, this conflict has gotten so bad on both sides that the Palestinians are stuck, as Darryl Cooper put it, who's one of the best minds on this topic, by the way. Hamas essentially celebrates losing. It's like a sick death cult, but this didn't arise out of nowhere. And I'll say just 2 things I want to say very quickly. Okay, number one, I reject all foreign aid. If I could only cut foreign aid to one country, it would be Israel. Israel is the first one that should go. Number one, because it's received the most of it. But number 2, as you almost as you kind of admitted there, we have the same enemies, right? Why? Why do we have the same enemies? Okay, is because we inherit all of Israel's enemies. Benjamin Netanyahu came over to the United States of America in 2002 and testified before Congress as a regional expert. And you know what he said, Candace? You'll never believe it. If you overthrow Saddam Hussein, democracy will sweep the region. So I highly recommend that you go fight a war with Iraq, who, by the way, the neocons, essentially the Likud vanguard in America, had been planning overthrowing Saddam Hussein with Benjamin Netanyahu since the 90s. You can go read A Clean Break, the memo from Richard Pearl and David Wormser to Benjamin Netanyahu about their plan for overthrowing Saddam Hussein. Not Israel overthrowing Saddam Hussein, of course. The United States of America overthrowing Saddam Hussein on behalf of Israel. Also, in that same congressional hearing testimony, Benjamin Netanyahu advocated that the U.S. preemptively attack Iran. Coincidentally. Now, we do have all the same enemies. Look, let me just say this, and I'll finish on this. There's nothing unique about Jews or Israel in terms of the evil stuff that their government's done. I think that the way they founded the country involved violating a lot of people's property rights. I think they've killed a whole bunch of innocent people. Nothing I wouldn't say about my own government as well, and it's true for lots of governments around the world. Throughout human history, there has been atrocities, genocides, ethnic cleansing campaigns, slavery, all types of horrible things. And at every single point, there were people who would rationalize it, because that's what human beings do. We play tricks on ourselves. We're very capable of coming up with good rationalized arguments. What Israel is doing to Gaza right now is simply evil. It is inexcusable. It's been going on for 8 months. Forget the health ministry's numbers. When this thing is all over, it's going to result in hundreds of thousands of deaths and displacements. It's going to ruin lives for generations, and it should stop. All you really need to do is look at some of the images of what's going on in Gaza right now. The only question that should matter is, do you absolutely have to do this? Does this have to happen? Could you stop? Is there any other way? And as soon as you start asking that question, you'll realize that, yeah, there actually could be a lot of other ways to handle this. And I do want to also say, I really do appreciate the spirit of this debate. I know that, we're both pretty passionate about it, but a lot of for some reason that, the topic of Israel is a very, I don't know, Candace, have you noticed it's a little bit of a hot button issue?
Yes, and that's why I was very happy to have you guys back, because I just feel like we've had productive discussions, and I want to just really commend Ami, because he's coming into this knowing that, first and foremost, I tend to agree more with Dave Smith, and he was still willing to do it. And here's what I always say. In terms of any person who's pro-Israel, I respect the people the most that will get out there and debate their ideas. It is like the reason why I respect Dennis Prager, even though I had disagreements with him. He will go out there and he will actually debate what he believes. It's the people that won't debate what they believe that you should never listen to.
That's why I respect Ben Shapiro so much. Oh, wait.
We should...
Ooh, sneaky,
These
sneaky,
comedians
sneaky.
are just telling a joke. And the last thing that I want to say, and just to, and now to interject my opinion and where I come at this, you know, I became very well known for being a person that stood up to my own community when Black Lives Matter became the prevailing ideology in America, and everyone was sort of calling everyone racist if you didn't support this corporation. And I challenge Black Americans to go, hey, first and foremost, you're an American. Don't let somebody pigeonhole you and tell you that you are Black and you therefore must defend these certain things that don't really make sense. And I want to say to Jewish listeners the same thing. I know that in school I was propagandized to see myself as a Black person, to think about slavery as a horrific sin, and to always therefore have an emotional response when anything was happening to a Black person. But at the moment that they are able to instill in you a fear, no matter how rational or irrational it is, they're able to control you. And so to my Jewish friends, I don't think of you as a Middle Eastern foreign nation that you are required to defend. You aren't. You simply aren't. You are an American first. You are allowed, of course, to critique Bibi Netanyahu, to critique what's going on there, and you are certainly not required to defend death because you have some fear that perhaps was instilled in you to believe that if you don't, it's going to represent some sort of existential crisis, and suddenly they're going to wipe you out of, New York and LA and Boca Raton and all the other places that I go with my Jewish friends. It's just not going to happen. And I just come at this for, I don't want to be involved in any of these foreign conflicts. If you do feel a closeness to Israel, if you are Israeli, there are people whose family, like you said, grew up in Israel, and that is the reason why you feel so attached to this issue, then more power to you. You should also be allowed to speak about what you want to say. You should never feel fearful in any city in America saying that you want to support Israel. That would be completely wrong. And to the extent that that is happening, you will always have my support. And I hope that what everyone listening to this has learned from today is that what this country needs is more speech, not less. You're going to agree with Dave some, you're going to agree with Ami some, but we can all agree on is that, I'm better looking than both of them, and you should just keep watching my podcast and my show for that reason. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me, and I wish we had more time to do this.